Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into one of the most incredible stories from the ancient world, the shipwreck of the Apostle Paul. We're going to break down the literary and theological genius of how this story is told in the book of Acts. All right, here's how we're going to tackle this. We're going to follow the story just as it unfolds, from a really bad decision to absolute chaos, and finally to a kind of rescue that nobody could have possibly predicted. So first things first, let's set the stage. You got to understand this was not a missionary journey. This was a prisoner transfer. It's actually a key moment in the whole book, promising that Paul's message is going to get to the very heart of the empire, Rome. Right, so the whole reason for this voyage is mandatory. It's a legal and political move. Paul is not in charge. He's not even a passenger, really. He's cargo, being shipped off to face the supreme court of the ancient world. Now we get to the story's first big turning point, where a huge decision has to be made. And honestly, this is the moment where it all starts to go sideways. Okay, so they're docked in a port called Fair Havens, but winter is coming. Any sailor back then knew that sailing the Mediterranean in late autumn was basically a death wish. And right into this debate steps Paul, the prisoner, with this chillingly specific warning. And this is just a classic showdown, right? You can see it laid out here. On one side, you've got the professionals, like the captain, the ship's owner, the majority vote. Their plan makes perfect, logical sense. On the other side, you've got the prisoner, Paul, basing his warning on, well, something else. And the Roman centurion in charge, he does the logical thing. He sides with the experts. And what happens next is the direct result of that choice. What follows is one of the most intense, vivid, and flat-out terrifying descriptions of a storm you will find in any piece of ancient literature. And here's the crazy part. At first, it looks like they made the right call. A gentle south wind starts blowing. They're probably feeling pretty good about themselves. But that feeling doesn't last. A monster of a wind, a Euroclydon, they call it, just slams into them. And from there, things go from bad to worse. Fast. And you can literally track their growing panic by their actions. This isn't just random stuff. It's a checklist of desperation. First, they try to save their lifeboat. Then they try to tie the whole ship together to keep it from breaking apart. Finally, they start throwing everything overboard. First the cargo, their profits, then the ship's own equipment. They are literally dismantling their own vessel to survive. Can you even imagine this? 2 solid weeks of this. No sun, no stars. In the ancient world, that means you are completely and utterly lost. Just black skies and raging seas. They haven't eaten in days. And then comes this line, all hope was abandoned. This is rock bottom. It's the end of the rope. Hope is gone. And it's right here in this moment of total darkness and despair that the whole story just flips on a dime. The focus shifts completely from human failure to this wild, unexpected announcement from God. So Paul stands up, and he tells everyone about a message he got from an angel. And it all hinges on this first Greek word, day. It basically means it is necessary. Paul says he must stand trial in Rome. It's not just a good idea, it's a divine necessity, which means this storm, as bad as it is, cannot stop what has to happen. And then you get this second word, which is just beautiful. It's the other half of the message. God hasn't just saved Paul. He has graciously given him the lives of everyone else on the ship. Their survival isn't something they earned by fighting the storm. It's a gift, pure grace. But here's the catch. This promise didn't mean the storm would just vanish. Nope. It meant the path to salvation was going to go through the shipwreck itself. And look at this. The roles are completely reversed. Paul, the prisoner, is now giving the orders. And his message of faith is super practical. He's not telling them to just sit and pray. He's yelling, stay with the ship, and you need to eat something. Divine promise requires human action. They're tied together. And then, just like Paul said, it happens. The ship slams into a reef and gets stuck, and the waves just obliterate the back half of the ship. I mean, it's a scene of total violent destruction. The ship, their plan, their technology, their whole world is literally torn to pieces. And remember, this isn't some small boat. There were 276 people on board. You've got soldiers, sailors, prisoners, a whole cross-section of society, all in the same sinking boat. And yet, despite the ship being smashed to bits, despite the raging storm, every single one of them made it to shore alive. I mean, just look at this chart. This is the whole point in one picture. The stuff that everyone thought was valuable, the ship, the cargo, the business venture, is 100% loss, gone, 0% saved. But the human lives, the very things everyone had given up on, 100% saved. It's an incredible contrast. So, what do we make of all this? What's the real message hiding in the middle of this shipwreck? What did the storm actually deliver? Well, the takeaways are huge. For one, it shows that human expertise, our best laid plans, can fail spectacularly. It also shows that the point of absolute despair can be the exact place where real hope begins. But the biggest idea is this. Sometimes salvation comes through the wreckage. The shipwreck didn't stop Paul from getting to Rome. The shipwreck was the strange, violent, unexpected vehicle that got him to the next stop on his journey. And that leaves us with a pretty powerful question to think about in our own lives, right? When our plans fall apart, when our own ships are wrecked, what is it that's truly being saved? Thanks for joining us for this explainer.